Hello, welcome to Should I Buy This Game, featuring Above and Below. My name is Christine, and in this video I'll give you a brief description on how the game is played, and then share a few things I may like or dislike about the game to help you decide if you want to add Above and Below to your collection. Here we have Above and Below after we have completed playing a game. Everybody starts the game with 3 villagers. During a round, there are 5 different actions you can take. One of the first actions you can do is when you have the villager with the feather, it allows you to get another villager to add to your village. You would choose the villager you want and you pay the amount underneath the listed villager, and then you pick that villager and add it into the exhausted portion of your village. The next action you can take is the build action, and you need a villager that has the little mallet if you want to build. We have above ground houses and below ground houses. You pay the amount shown on each of the card, and then you're able to get the benefits shown on the card, such as this allows you to get an extra bed. This allows you to put 2 pot tokens on there to harvest later. This one gives you money at the beginning of each round, and then points at the end of the game. This gives you points at the end of the game and a bed. And the underground ones are similar as well, giving you beds, items, and points. This one here with the hand would give you a potion right away and just once. The above ground houses can be built at any point, and the below ground houses you can build once you have explored the caves. Your third option would be to go exploring in the caves. So you take one of these cave cards and you choose 2 of your active villagers to go on the exploration. So the first thing you want to do is you roll one of the dice to see what encounter you have. So I rolled a 2, so it would be encounter 181. There is an encounter book, and so I look for 181. And then your opponent would read the encounter and then tell you your options. So hold the map far from the flame, explore 3. Hold the map a moderate distance from the flame, explore 5. And then hold the map very close to the flame in case it holds secrets inscribed in invisible ink, explore 7. So when you look at here, what they're talking about, the Explorer, are these little lanterns. So this one has the option of getting 1 or 2 lanterns. And this one as well has the option of getting 1 or 2 lanterns. The most lanterns they could get would be 4, or if you exert them, they could get 1 more each for 6. So our choices were 3, 5, and 7. So I think the safe thing is we will explore for 3, and you have to decide up front what you're going to do. Then you roll 1 die for each of your villagers. So you roll 1, they have a 5. So when you look here, 4 and higher gets me 2 lanterns. So we're doing well. You rolled the second, it has a 4. So we ended up with 4 lanterns without having to exert anybody. So in this case, when we look here, we had said explore 3, we would have received a fruit to add to our personal player mat as our reward. And that is the basics of how you explore in the caves. The fourth thing you can do is harvest. And you can use any of your villagers to harvest. You move them to the exhausted area on your board, and then you go over to your personal cards. So I had 3 cards that had goods on them. I would collect 1 of each good and add them into onto my player board here. If you didn't have the good, you would start another space here. But if you do, you just pile them right on top of the goods you already have. Now the last thing you can do is go to the bank. And to go to the bank, use one of your villagers and bring them to the exhausted area. Now it's my understanding that for how much you receive is based on how many exhausted villagers you have. So in this case, it would be 5 coins. And as a bonus, if you're the first person to go to the bank, you will receive this cider, which you can use to refresh one of your villagers at the end of the round. So one of the first things I want to talk about of things I really like about the game are these key cards, the key houses. There are a variety, but you put 4 out per game. And these give you some really good benefits early in the game. They're at a lower cost. And for example, this one lets you re-roll the dice twice. So when you're down in the caves, if you want a higher number, you have 2 chances to re-roll a die to get the higher number. This one will give you 1 re-roll of a die, but then at the end of the game, you get 1 point for every cave, even if you don't have a house on top of the cave. This one here, every time you build, you gain 1 coin. So that's really great at the beginning. When you start building, you'll get the extra resources. And this one gives you a potion at the beginning of each round. So if you're spending a lot of time in the caves and you want to take a chance to get those higher numbers and exert your villagers, the potion is what makes them feel better, to move them from being injured just into exhausted. So these key cards are really great to collect at the beginning of the game to help you throughout it. Now on the opposite end, we have these star houses, and these are the cards you want at the end of the game. So these are the ones that are going to give you the big points. This could even be half of your score. So some are like 3 and then 2 per every house above ground. So by this point, you know, did you spend a lot of time above ground, below ground? How did you play your game? This one gives you 12 points, so a lot up front, and then 2 for every set of this resource. This one just gives you 2 points, but then 2 per person. So if you know at the beginning you want to do this card, maybe you're going to just keep collecting people with each round just to get the bonus at the end of the game. Here it's 4 and then 2 points per potion and a resource. This is for 1 point per set of resources. So I find that this one isn't as beneficial, because to have all of these, it's my understanding it's 1 per set and not 1 per item, but at 1, it could be 1 per item. I'd have to verify that. And then this one is 7 points up front and then 2 for every house you built underground. So that's another great card if you spent a lot of your time building the underground houses. So these are really great for end of game scoring. So I just looked up these cards and I was wrong. It's not 2 per set, it's 2 per paper and 2 per amethyst that you own. So here would be 2 per potion and 2 per ore. And here it's 1 for each of these goods, like in multiple. So if you had 3 mushrooms, you would get 3 points. So that is how those cards score. Another thing I love, of course, is the encounter book. There are over 200 encounters you can come across, and they are so creative and so fun, and you never know what's going to happen when you go exploring in the caves. And I have to give out props to all the authors who wrote the different encounters. They're very creative and really make this game come together. And the final thing I want to mention is I really like how you have a variety of 5 different things you can do, and that other players don't interfere in your choices of what you want to do. And if you've used your characters to do everything and you have 1 left, well, you can always use that character to go to the bank and collect some money. So now I just want to share a few things I dislike about the game. And the first is the villagers, because you only get maybe 2 villagers, maybe 3 villagers, because you run out of beds. You don't need more than like having a total of 5 or 6, because you start with those 3. And so I mainly use these villagers to go exploring. And so I'm looking for a villager like this that has a lot of lanterns, so you can get those higher bonuses when you go exploring. But there's not that many that have that high lanterns. A lot of them here only have like 1 or 2 or 1 or 2. This guy here, you only have 1 option to get 2, but he does give you the option of building or getting another villager. But I find I only use my starting villager to build, and I really use these to explore the caves. And so I wish that there would be more stronger villagers, because when you come here, you may not have any of these to choose from. And so without having those strong villagers, it really handicaps you when you go exploring in the caves, that you won't be able to explore for like the 5 and the 7, and you might be stuck just exploring at 3 lanterns, because that's all your villagers together can really get you. So that's the first thing. I wish there'd be stronger villagers to choose from. Another thing I wish is that at the end of the game, you would be able to get points for leftover money and or potions, or even if you had cider. Without that bonus card I showed you earlier, you don't get any bonuses for any of this. And I had the card where I could get a potion each round, but then I never really exerted my villagers, so I ended up with all these potions. And I know I could sell them to my opponents, but my opponents didn't want to buy them. And if I sold them, I'd only have money, which wouldn't benefit me anyway. And so I wish there would be some end game scoring bonus for excess potion, cider, and money. And our last thing would be just a small thing. It doesn't really interfere in the game. But some of the encounters have failure descriptions, and we really like reading those. However, many of the encounters do not have them, and so we just wish that more of the encounters would have a failure description in case you failed. Of course, we never fail. But if we did, we'd like to sort of have a fun little thing to read to find out what would happen. So overall, we really enjoyed Above and Below. This is the first game in the series of 3 games. The other 2, if I am correct, are Near and Far and Now or Never. So we look forward to playing those. So let me know in the comments if you've played Above and Below and what you think of the game.